What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk, my inaugural episode of me on video. Actually, my first podcast on video. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But it's the first foray into this world, so we'll see how it goes. A lot of things going on in the sports world right now, and the NBA coaching with Adrian Griffin being fired. We'll get into that. But the big story to me, the story that stands out is Bill Belichick. And every time I hear the name Bill Belichick, I think of a quote from Jerry West. Coaching is inconsequential without talent. Without talent, coaching is inconsequential. Bill Belichick is on the cusp of being the NFL's all-time winningest head coach. Of his 266 wins with the New England Patriots, 219 of them are with Tom Brady. I'm going to repeat that for you. In his 24 years with New England, he won 266 games. 219 of those wins on the back of Tom Brady. Why is that important? Because there have been a plethora of NFL head coaching jobs that come over. An abundance of head coaching jobs come over. He wasn't getting a shot in Carolina, understandably so. No one's going to trip off of that. He wasn't going to get in. There's rumors he may get a shot in Seattle. We'll see how that turns out. But the two jobs that stood out to me were the Los Angeles Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. And both of those organizations chose to go with someone who had been out of the NFL head coaching ranks for over a decade. Think about that for a minute. The Los Angeles Chargers, formerly known as the San Diego Chargers, have been hired a coach in Jim Harbaugh who hasn't coached an NFL roster in over 10 years. They passed on what could have been an opportunity to hire a 71-year-old head coach who under their regime, under their roster, under their team, under their umbrella, could have become the NFL's all-time winningest head coach. And Chargers said, nah, we don't even want to interview. Why is that? Why did they go with the guy who's only had 4 years of NFL head coaching experience? Then goes to college, has success, wins an NCAA championship. Whoop-de-damn do. That's all good and dandy. But he goes to Los Angeles, an organization that has fired more coaches in the last 10 years than any other organization in the NFL. They decide to not even interview Bill Belichick. And then you truck on down to Dirty. You head to Atlanta, and they hired Raheem Morris. Not after one, but 2 times sitting down across from Belichick, Arthur Smith said, nah, I'm a hard pass on you. Nah, we good. Why is that? Why are these two organizations, one could have used the stability of Belichick in the Chargers. Another one could have used, let's say, I don't know. And that's the problem. What does Bill Belichick bring to your organization? When I sat down and did the podcast to salute Saban and Belichick and to say they were the best coaches in sports, not just football, I started to see a pattern with Bill Belichick. Every step of success had Tom Brady associated. Conversely, you look at Saban, he'd won with different quarterbacks, different styles, different coordinators, different elements. But when you look at Belichick, without Tom Brady, he's 36-44 in Cleveland. One winning record. And you know the numbers. He's 47-57 in New England. One playoff appearance. And you start wondering, well, how could the greatest coach in professional football struggle so much? Maybe because he's not. Did I just say that? Did I just say that Bill Belichick is not the greatest coach of all time? Yeah, I did. And in the sense of saying, geez, I'm gonna say it with my chest. It's become obvious right now. One owner refuses to even interview him, and another owner sat down with him twice and decided to go with a dude who hasn't coached professional players in a head coaching capacity in over a decade. Think about the things that have changed. We've had Corona, the COVID. From Corona, we've had Trump, we've had Biden, we've had Obama. So many things have changed. 10 years ago, we weren't even popping on cell phones. We still had landlines. 10 years ago, people still had dial-up. Yahoo was still the email to have. Over 10 years ago. And now we're sitting here watching Bill Belichick. And so, to save face, he's now become, well, he's going to sit out for a year and then he'll come back next year. Well, next year he'll be 72. 72-year-old coach with a losing record outside of the greatest quarterback of all time. He thinks he's going to be permanently unemployed. Yeah, it's not looking good for old Billy. And it makes sense because at this point, it's obvious. And here's another ring I want to throw into the arena, if you will. Spygate. Here's another nuance I want to introduce. Here's another fact I'd like to introduce into the argument, Your Honor. Deflategate. Do other owners, do other coaches, do other general managers, do other former players who lost at the hands of Bill Belichick want to see him become the NFL's all-time winningest head coach, despite the cheating allegations? Those 3 Super Bowls, do people really want to see him become the face of coaching, knowing what he did? I think that's also playing a factor. I think that's also playing a role. And it's being ignored because all we're hearing of how great of a coach he is. When you go through his resume, one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. Yeah, and he had one of the greatest defensive players, one of the best professional players, defensive players we've ever gone all time in Lawrence Taylor. And he was under one of the greatest coaches of all time in Bill Parcells. Now, I'm not saying Bill Belichick can't coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I'm saying he's not the greatest. I'm actually going to say, double down and say he's probably not even in the room. They're not going to like me after that one. When you eliminate the talent from what Bill Belichick has, you have a disgruntled man who can't evaluate talent on any levels. Josh Childress, not that good of a coach. Matt Patricia, not that good of a coach. Bill O'Brien, not that good of a coach. This is not, one is an accident, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is who you are. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Romeo Crennel, Charlie Weiss, great guys, all know football. But coaching is more than just knowing the game. You have to teach the game and get these guys to believe in what you're teaching. And that's where Belichick habitually falls short. Look, we know the championships. We know the decoration. We know all the things he's accomplished. But just as well, just with the certainty that you want to give him those accolades, you have to add into the certainty that they don't happen without Tom Brady. And you need that great quarterbacking to win, unless you're Andy Reid, who won with the Donovan McNabb and Patrick Mahomes, went to Super Bowls with Donovan McNabb and with Patrick Mahomes, went to playoff games with Michael Vick, Jeff Garcia, Donovan McNabb, A.J. Philly, Nick Foles, Alex Smith, and now Patrick Mahomes. That's when you start to say maybe the acclaim is surpassed the achievement. Perhaps the record of 83 wins and 101 losses tell you more about his coaching ability than the 266 wins. Perhaps Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay and winning a Super Bowl with a team that was 500 the year before tell you more about Bill Belichick's coaching ability than the 6 rings. Perhaps the struggles of his assistant outside of Nick Saban tell you more about his coaching acumen than the 6 rings. And finally, the 44% winning percentage for a guy who was about to become the all-time winningest head coach in NFL history. That's not adding up. That's not jiving. One interview. Carolina said no. Seattle hasn't even given him a call. Atlanta said we're good. I mean, you would think Atlanta was a perfect spot for him. There is no franchise quarterback in Atlanta. Carolina's struggling. Tampa Bay is led by Baker, so we know how that's going to go. And New Orleans is led by Derek Carr, who at this point, he's played almost a decade in the league, maybe even more. I'm not going to look it up. And we still don't know what kind of quarterback Derek Carr is. So that spot would have been perfect for Atlanta, and they decided to pass him. I don't think that's going to change, and I don't think the opportunity is coming for Bill Belichick because the owners have decided that they wanted to move on. The players have already moved on, and there's not enough wins to pull them back. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. It'll be more interesting to see who else passes on him. Because when you get passed over by a guy who ain't even done the job in 10 plus years, think about it. The Rams defense wasn't even that damn good. And shout out to Raheem Morris. I hope he's successful. I want him to be successful. I'm wishing him nothing, sending positive energy his way. But at least Jim Harbaugh won a title. Raheem Morris. And just one more note before we go, 4-7. That was Raheem Morris's record when he coached Atlanta in 2020 as the interim coach. And it was so good. Those 4 wins were so mind-blowing, they brought him back. Chewing that for a minute. So I'm not the moral of the story is this. Was Bill Belichick a Hall of Fame coach? Yes. Did he win a lot of games? Yes. But have we as a narrative, or just put it to you this way, has the acclaim surpassed the achievement? Yes. Tom Brady was the reason for the season in New England. And I think everyone knows it at this point. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher-Jones. As always, I am him. If you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe, comment, share, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. And as always, we appreciate your time here. Be easy.